Finally, some news you can use. Hello, everyone. Bront here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends. This is going to be a fairly quick video, but I saw some news pop up on my feed in game, which, first of all, thank you, Plarium, for actually giving us some interesting news in game. It's very interesting to try to find the news in game. I still think that they need to work on updating that so that those news feeds are actually live, as opposed to having to restart the game every time you actually want to get those news feeds updated. But that said, there's some pretty interesting news that was big enough that I felt I should shoot a video, probably a short video on it, and let you guys know what's up. I do want to let you know that as of today, they have announced the new Fusion. I do have a video on my thoughts on my Fusion. I just finished recording that. In fact, making the thumbnail for it when I had to restart the game, and boom, this news popped up. So I'm going to shoot this out to you as soon as possible. So I'm going to finish recording this and get that out to you ASAP. And then tomorrow I will have my thoughts on the new Fusion champion, as well as some surprising stuff from the free-to-play as well. So that should be a fun video. I think you guys will enjoy that. But let's go hop over into the news right here. In fact, we're not going to even cut with this. We're going to go here. A smoother game awaits AI bug fixes. Game shrinking. All right. So with the version, we have a couple new things. So first of all, in Hydra, if a champion has provoke debuff in their skill set, they will specifically target the head of decay. So this is not worded as well as I would like, but I assume what this means is that if they have provoke in their kit and it's a single target, they know, oh, I should target that particular champion. This is amazing for full auto teams, particularly full auto teams with Wixwell, because I know I use Wixwell in a couple of full auto teams, but he has to be the lead champion, and he has to take his first turn to attack the head of decay. So if I can literally just say Wixwell's first turn, he does his A1, I can auto that team now, and that's going to save a ton of time and allow me to use those quick battles, which is, a huge time saver. Now, it's certainly not going to fix a lot of RNG, but the fact that Wixwell is now going to actively target that head when he's doing his A1 is important. I don't know if that means that they're going to target the provoke over other skills. I suspect not. But that said, if you have them programmed hard, they will follow the hard programming first before anything else like that, makes any difference whatsoever. Fire Knight is actually a pretty big one here, so let's scroll up and get the Fire Knight stuff here. If the Fire Knight shield is up, the following skills will have their priority lowered. Newt's Blessed Bash, Royal Guard's Takedown, Geomancer's Quicksand Grasp, Tomb Lord's Death Burst and Blight, and Stag Knight's Huntmaster. Basically, these are champions that are regularly used in Fire Knight, and these are the skills you don't want going into the shield. So Stag Knights, for example, that's his decrease attack, decrease defense. So you want his A1 to happen more often than his A2 against the shield. So the fact that you no longer have to program that is absolutely amazing. Tomb Lord's Death Burst and Blight, that is his decrease attack, decrease defense, and possible turn meter decrease. That's another one that you don't want going into the shield because it literally doesn't hit. Geomancer's Quicksand Grasp doesn't hit. You don't want to go into the shield because that also steals a ton of turn meter. Royal Guard's Takedown, that is his A2. That's another one that's somewhat counterintuitive. Basically, it means he won't do his big nuke. He will instead prioritize his A3, which is a quad hitter that can drop turn meter and decrease speed. To be fair, you kind of want that one against the shield. You kind of don't want that against the shield. So it's kind of a hit and miss on that. But it's, I think, overall good because it means that he'll rely on the multi-hitter more than the takedown big nuke against the shield, which will help a lot of people. And finally, Newt's Blessed Bash. This literally means that you no longer have to program Newt other than turning off his A2. Because now he will work like Coldheart, where Coldheart will save her Heartseeker for when the shield is down. Newt will now save his Blessed Bash for when the shield is down. That is absolutely amazing. That is a big change. That's actually the reason I decided to make this video. I saw that and said, this is amazing, and then read some of the rest of the stuff, and this is actually pretty good. So let's take a look at some of these other skills. Some of these I actually haven't read yet. So Demon Lord here, if Duck the Pierce Lunatic Outburst skill is not on cooldown, it will become the highest priority. So that's his decrease defense and decrease attack. So he will not do the provoke at a higher priority against the Demon Lord sometimes. And that is because what happens is anybody that has decreased defense will deprioritize the decreased defense if it's already up against the boss. And that causes problems in a couple of AI situations. Dracomorph is actually one where it's an issue, where on a 2-to-1 speed team, Dracomorph will actually let it drop off if you're not careful. And while you think, well, he doesn't do any damage when he places it, so you're not losing that much, you are losing a lot, because you mean you have several other people that are hitting the boss without decreased defense or weaken, and that's a problem. Or worse yet, the debuff bar fills up with poisons, and suddenly you can't put that decreased defense or weaken. That's a problem. So that's a good one. Rowan's Blade Scourge skill is on cooldown. The Scourge skill is not on cooldown. If the Blade Surge is on cooldown, the Scourge is not on cooldown. Scourge will be the highest priority skill. If Blade Surge skill is not on cooldown, it will become the highest priority skill. So, to be fair, I don't know Rowan's kit super well, but I'm sure that's going to make sure that the Demon Lord gets more of the debuffs that Rowan is bringing that are in a better priority. So that makes some sense as well. And it might have something to do with the fact that it's possible the Scourge skill is enabled by Blade Surge. So Blade Surge has to be a higher priority, but Scourge otherwise is the highest priority. Again, Gag with another spider. If Grazer's Irongrow's healing bombardment skill is not on cooldown and Let None Pass is on cooldown, healing bombardment will become the highest priority skill. It is okay. Again, I don't know Grazer's kit very well. I assume that this is going to involve him possibly A1ing instead of doing an AoE that could be a problem against the Nether Spider. So this will prevent him from doing some Nether Spider things that could cause a problem. In dungeons, if Armiger's late arrest skill is not on cooldown, become the highest priority skill. That's kind of interesting. That means that he was A1ing in places where he probably should have done his late arrest. Now he will work normally for people. I do find that one interesting because I think that that is a problem against the Fire Knight. But maybe that's specifically a fix for everywhere other than the Fire Knight. Because on the Fire Knight, you want him to A1 into the shield, and you don't want him to do this late arrest until later on anyway. So, well, who knows? And Staff of Wonder skill is not on cooldown, and Now You See Us is on cooldown. Staff of Wonder will become the highest priority skill. Okay, that's a fix. That's good. Sun Wukong has this problem where he regularly doesn't like to use his A2 in some situations. And now he will use that A2 if the A3 is not on cooldown. At least I think that's the way that works. We can certainly take a look at Sun Wukong to confirm that one. Classic and Live Arena. Scylla Drake's Phoenix Rite, which is a revive, will now become the highest priority if somebody is dead on your team. That is good because Syl by default will prefer to do her stun over her rise. That makes some sense on the waves where you might want to control 3 or 4 champions on the waves rather than to revive one champion on your team just for them to die again because they take a turn. So that makes some sense. But in the arena, you want that revive going as soon as often. That's good. That's a fun one here. If there's a sheep T-buff on your team, Velkanin will prioritize using his Death's Bargain out against that ally. So basically, if you have a sheep on your team, Velkanin will try to sacrifice your sheep as opposed to another champion. I guess that makes sense. That's kind of amusing. That does lead to some weird problems, but and again, Velkanin sacrificing people has already got some weird problems. Who's it picking in the first place? It could be bad if, like, for example, your reviver is the person that got sheeped and then he kills the sheep. You don't get the revive. Especially if it was somebody like a Marichka, for example, you might not get Marichka's passive. Although, actually, no, that's right. If you kill a sheep, they immediately come back as themselves. So if him using his Death Bargain against a sheep is one of the ways to turn a sheep back into a normal person sooner. That's actually a lovely, that gives Velkanin some extra interesting extra uses. I love that. That's actually pretty awesome. All okay. Ooh, I love these things. These are absolutely awesome. So it's about time a lot of these things have happened. So this is great. If an enemy is under unkillable, your champion will prioritize using skills that can steal or remove buffs. That's great. Now, that is not going to prioritize things that will inadvertently remove buffs. For example, Mithrala can petrify people that attack. So getting hex on champions that have unkillable and then forcing them to attack you, and then when they attack, they get stones, petrified. Well, that's a way to remove unkillable. It's just not the way most people think of removing killable. And of course, so it's removing unkillable, ignoring unkillable. Cecilia will now do HP burns first rather than her decreased defense or weaken first. That's a huge buff for her. Her AI was kind of borked where she would do her activate and decrease defense if there was no burns out there, which was a really bad thing to do in most of the cases. So that's good. You actually should now double check any CC Flame Tongue teams to make sure they're set up properly. But basically, it means that if HP burn isn't out, she'll put it out. So it shouldn't be a major problem. Artec will now actually put burns out as his highest priority. This means he no longer needs to be programmed. By default, Artifact preferred to do his A2 to get decrease attack out rather than put burns out on his A3. So made him a little annoying. You had to program him to use him in other areas. You now no longer need to program him if you actually want that decrease attack. But if you don't want that decrease attack, I should say, and you want the burn first, because that decrease attack also activates the burn. So that's important. If there are no poison debuffs to the enemy team, Elenarl's Combust will become the lowest priority skill. That's good. What that means is that Elenarl won't try to ignite the poisons that don't exist and then put them out with the next turn. So that's an improvement on Elenarl's AI. Exemplar's Pincer Attack is not on cooldown. It will become the highest priority skill. I don't know what the Pincer Attack does. Exemplar's not great, but I'm sure that's a help. Abess's Mass Impale skill is on cooldown. Divine Wrath is not on cooldown. Divine Wrath will become the highest priority skill. That makes sense. It sounds like they're fixing a couple of champions that had skills that even if the one skill was on cooldown and the other one wasn't, they weren't doing the second skill for some strange reason. So it's good to see some of that stuff fixed. Defile Sinners, Ripe for the Slaughter skill is not on cooldown. Corrosive Smog is on cooldown. Ripe for the Slaughter become the highest priority skill. So again, fixing a couple of champions that their AI was just not great. So a lot of interesting AI fixes. A lot of these are actually good endgame affecting. These are things that will actually help with the new Auto Hydra that should be live in the game right now. So I think that this is great, and this is a good sign for the future of this game and the future of Plarium. You could argue that these are things that should have been fixed a long time ago. Artec's been in the game for a year and a half. Elenarl's, I think, an original champion, if not a very, very early champion. Cecia's fairly new, or fairly old, I should say. Newt is certainly not new anymore. Sun Wukong's AI has been broken for a while. Armiger's an uncommon. He was an OG, most likely. Syl, one of the earlier champions. There's a lot of things that probably should have been fixed ages ago. But the fact that Plarium is taking time to make active, tangible game improvements that will affect a large number of users is good. Are they doing everything perfect? No, they're not. But I think that this is a major, major improvement in quality of life. So let me know what you think. Are there anything that you think that they missed? Any AI thing bugs or weirdness that you've seen with some of the AI that you wish that they would certainly address? What do you think about all these changes? Are these changes going to help you and affect your account? Hopefully they help you out. Hopefully they make the game a little more enjoyable for you. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I drop a lot of videos. I don't drop necessarily a lot of news, but this felt like something that was worth reacting to and getting out there because it is so easy to click I don't care on some of these news things, and then you miss them, and then you don't read the news and you don't know what's going on. This is important stuff. So make sure you pay attention. And you know what? Let Plarium know that you're happy with this stuff. You know, if this is kind of cool, let them know. Drop a note in the comments. They check out the comments of a lot of these videos. So see you all later. Take care. Look forward to the next video about that new fusion. It should be spicy. And until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.